Good morning. Thank goodness the thaw is here. I hope it rains from now till April, with the odd break. But apart from that, I want to start off by just a little tidbit in politics. As you know, this country is poll crazy. We have another federal poll this morning which shows the Liberals slipping, the Liberals coming up, the Tories slipping, and a vast number of undecided people. Don't let it bother you. It doesn't mean a thing until the election is called, believe you me. As for instance, Bennett is holding a major, Bill Bennett, Premier Bill Bennett of British Columbia, McCarthy land, is holding a major press conference tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And already those ill-advised members of the media are speculating that this means a provincial election to be announced tomorrow. No way. He hasn't got the issue yet. Who knows what climax or anticlimax will come out of his major press conference tomorrow. We're assured that it's not going to be anything to do with the establishment of McCarthy land in British Columbia. However, also today, a young politician, rising politician who's done very well in public eyes up to now, is about to release the results of a poll he has made of British Columbia politics. Now, I don't know what's in the poll, but I'll give you a guess. I'll bet you that it shows that NDP are leading, somewhere around 41, 42%, that Social Credit are less, somewhere in the high 30s, that the Liberals are down at the low end of the totem pole as usual, 4 or 5, and that the Tories have something, according to this poll, between a 15, 16 and 17% support. I don't know if it's going to stand up at all in any way, shape or form. Well, it's nice to follow those things, and might even run a little poll of my own this morning just for laughs in one of my 10-minute segments. But we must continue to cover the news. And there's a non-event in BC right at the moment. It's up at Simon Fraser. It's not like the Kootenai school strike. It's a number of rotating strikes carried out by AUCE, A-U-C-E, for the last, it's now in its 5th week, I do believe. So we're going to have a look at this morning because this comes within the orbit of Section 11. If Section 11 were to be used in some crisis, it might conceivably be used if the caper went on at Simon Fraser for months to come and the whole place was actually shut down. I don't think so. But there's an interesting dispute between the management, that's you and me, and the union, that's AUCE, on how much the AUCE people, clerical and college employees, should be paid. We'll deal with that this morning with a couple of the top officials involved. And as a little bonus, we're going to throw in Eileen Dailly, the NDP backbencher, NDP member, I should say, to give us some of the little tidbits about what she regards as social credit patronage in disbursing some of this ill-gotten gains from lotteries.
Jack, they're into the start of another semester here at Simon Fraser University. 10,000 students registering for various courses. It's been taking place over the last week and a half. Another 600 faculty members getting ready for this upcoming semester. But a little known fact to a lot of the people is the fact that there's a strike on here. It's been on for a month now. It's the Association of University and College Employees, about 600 of them. They've been on strike for a month, and it's really had little effect on the services here at the university. Students still attend classes, and faculty association members still teach classes.
150 management staff at SFU are having few problems registering students for new courses. 1,500 a day line up and file through here as striking university employees politely look on. It's almost like there's no strike at all. And students, with the help of management, register for courses with ease.
What I've done is I've dropped everything and added you to this crim course. But you're going to have to sort that out. You'll have to go back to the department, and you can get
see if I can add another one at another time right now?
We can try. I can't put you in it, but we can check it. What's the other one you want to add?
We've been able to cope with the situation fairly well. We have management people who are doing the work that was formerly done by the people on strike, and there's been no significant disruption.
Students are registering for various courses, attending classes as normal.
Yes, they are.
Any disruptions at all in the registration?
No, not to speak of. We have curtailed hours a bit on a couple of occasions, but nothing significant, no.
Is it safe then, Bill, to refer to this strike as perhaps one that nobody really cares about off the hill here?
Well, initially certainly there was a great deal of interest from radio stations But lately, the calls are much less frequent, and of course, with the newspapers on strike, it's not getting very much publicity.
Outside of the university, it's dying a death.
Yes, you could probably say that.
The Tradesmen and Faculty Association then are working normal then?
Yes, they're all working as normal. We've had no difficulties with either the tradesmen or with the faculty.
Pickets hit on a rotating basis. These ones at the biology faculty have caused no disruptions. Places like the library are not being picketed, and for students, it's a non-event.
Has the strike here at the university had any effect on you personally at all?
None whatsoever. Everything's going really smoothly.
Not yet. I just came up here. This is my first day.
It hasn't bothered you at all?
No.
No, not really. Just the bookstore, the small bookstore down there has been closed. That's about it.
A little bit of a delay.
Yeah, well, we can buy our stuff at the Park Royal or whatever.
What about you? Any effect at all?
No, I haven't even noticed it.
All you really notice is the strikers, the guys picketing and stuff. Other than that, really nothing.
In fact, the only disruption students face during a day of attending classes is when the class is finally over and they have to get up to leave.
You know, it suddenly strikes me after Brian's report that I'm guilty of an offense in covering the thing at all. Perhaps if we didn't cover it, it would just go away. First guy I'm going to talk to this morning is Chris Eve, who is vice president of, I hate that name, AUCE. What do you call it?
AUCE?
Association of University and College Employees, Local 2, Simon Fraser.
Yes.
What's the point of a strike if you can't close the place down tight in a good militant worker-type fashion?
Well, I think that, you know, the university isn't General Motors. And so the traditional theory of strike where you deprive the capitalist of his profit doesn't apply. Now, we're part of a community, and if we go out on strike and have an at-the-lights picket and close the whole place down, then sort of students and faculty basically suffer. The services that you just saw outlined on the screen would no longer be there, or they would be there on a very skeleton basis.
The other reason, of course, Chris, is if you put up full-scale picket lines and close the place down, Bill Bennett would jump on his Williams bandwagon, bring in Section 11 and force you back to work, wouldn't he?
Well, I doubt it.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think the Socreds are creating a political time bomb for themselves, that they don't really have the mature judgment to apply this legislation, and that if they really were politically mature, they'd recognize they don't need it.
We're going to talk about the issues in a minute, but you haven't locked them out, have you?
No.
Why not? I mean, goodness gracious me, you're just going to allow this to drag on? There must be some deterioration in what I'm sure are your magnificently high standards of teaching at Simon Fraser.
Jack, we've got some fantastic supervisors and managers who are working 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day.
Oh, George, I forgot to introduce you, George. Do forgive me. George Suart is the vice president in charge of administration at Simon Fraser. So we have two of the key people who are in a position to help to solve the dispute. Isn't that right?
Right.
Having interrupted you, I'll interrupt you again. Sure, you've got magnificent, devoted administrators. I understand that a fair number of them are on the point of physical exhaustion and can't keep up their additional work very much longer.
I don't think that's true, Jack. We're looking at that every day. I don't think that's true. Jack, you have to realize, and I should add to what something Chris said earlier. We had, 2 years ago, a 7-week strike by the trades of the university, not by AUCE. But AUCE honored the picket lines. There were 750 employees out of work. For 7 weeks, the university continued also as normal, perhaps, Jack, more normal than what you just saw today. So to say that we would suffer, we believe that we can withstand a strike. We're geared for it, and I think that we're doing a tremendous job.
So therefore, there is no need for you to bend or present counter-proposals to the union's quite firm position.
Oh, I think there's need for us to bend and present counter-proposals. The question is what they are.
All right, now, you are, I am reliably informed by Mr. Suart and his letter to all employees, the highest paid university employees and much higher paid, for instance, than comparable grades in those wealthy establishments, Hydro, ICBC, UBC, BC Tel, CPA, Finning Tractor, and that you are in fact well above the salary and levels in all these other comparable institutions, and the implication is that you're just being damn greedy and wanting to keep your advance instead of being moderate and allowing yourself to be scaled down to comparable rates in the open marketplace?
Well, obviously that's not a position I share.
Okay, well, give me your explanation. Are you the highest paid in these categories which the George has distributed around and which you, I think, accept to a certain point?
No, we reject those figures. And the reason that we reject those figures is that sort of we don't think that the study on which that is based is an academically defensible piece of research. And the reason we don't think that is that their sample of jobs is biased. It says in the report that's mentioned at the top here about compensation planning AUCE Local 2 that there are difficulties with the thing, and indeed there's a contradiction. It says in the report itself, job comparison is difficult, working conditions are different, and it's improper to compare salaries only. You have to consider the whole package.
It's not difficult for me to compare salaries in the slightest. In fact, I'm astonished that my management of Simon Fraser Universities had been so generous in giving the AUCE people up at UBC 8% more than comparable jobs in Crown and private industries. Is that what you have done, Mr. Suart?
That's Simon Fraser, Jack, not at UBC.
At Simon Fraser. Oh, please, let's put the blame where it belongs.
Right.
Why did you do that?
Well, it's a long story.
But you did it. You, the university, were very generous in years gone by. You're now trying to clip AUCE's wings to bring them back to the standard level.
Yeah, we did it.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
That's what you're trying to do?
No.
You overpaid them in the past.
We overpaid them in the past.
You're now trying to clip them to bring them back to, say, UBC levels.
We're trying to bring them to a level that we believe is the average of the best 8 paying employers in British Columbia.
Remarkably frank, isn't he?
Oh yes, but let's consider what's happened in the last 5 years. According to the University Review Committee report that was published last fall, it would seem that the number of faculty has increased 35%. Students went up 50% up until last fall. They've gone up another 7.7% according to the Express yesterday for this semester. And yet support staff numbers have increased only 4%. There's been a hell of an increase in productivity of our members, and there has been a considerable increase in terms of the qualifications required to get on the labour force.
Chris Eves from AUCE and George Suart from Simon Fraser University. George looks like somebody. A Jewish comedian. Chris Eve, Vice President of the AUCE Local up at Simon Fraser, just told us a minute ago that the research done by George Suart and his people, comparing their salaries with others and showing allegedly that these people at SFU are far too well paid, by 8% above comparable averages, he says that's not academically defensible. Now, I'm not an academician, Chris. I'm just a simple-minded layman who works for a stipend. And I see in the start rates for grade 2 people, comparable throughout Hydro, BCGEU, etc., and SFU, that you're way above it. For instance, I'll just take the most glaring example, as naturally, not academically defensible, but good showbiz. BC Tel, $763 a month for a start rate in grade 2. SFU, $930 a month. For a girl who's out of high school, who walks around and files a few papers, $930 a month, right? Well, is that not a shocking comparison that a non-productive function like a university, which costs us nothing but money, pays more than the telephone company?
Oh, I don't think so. See, one of the problems is that we don't know whether those figures are in fact truly comparable. And sort of management's report says, and I got management's report here, is basically that job comparison is very difficult, working conditions are different, and it's improper to compare salaries only. And I'm now quoting from the report that went to the Board of Governors on September 25th.
Well, now, you'd concede that your contract is a very good labour contract.
Oh, yes, indeed.
That you have many fringes and good working conditions. How many hours a week?
35.
How many?
35.
A full 5-day week? 35 hours a week. Have you fiddled these comparisons? Did you want to plead guilty to fiddling these things and misleading the AUCE people?
Jack, I kind of laugh at this. I'll tell you, I guess we start off with a funny story. You said that I did this, right? I'll tell you who did this.
No.
All right? This union, AUCE union, started 4 years ago. One of the originators of the union has switched since and was promoted. Was promoted to the university, into the personnel department. She did it. Okay, she did the comparison.
Dirty pool.
It's not dirty pool, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
One of the ex-union people
saying,
whom you promoted into management orbit.
I'm saying that she was the person that really started the AUCE union, and I'm saying she went into the personnel department. If you can't get somebody more fair and independent, then I don't know what we've got. That's number one. Number two, Jack, these things stand the test. There's a test. I've suggested that test to AUCE on 3 separate occasions with no results. The test is that you get an outside arbitrator, somebody else, to look at this and say, is this right or is this wrong? I believe that it's totally right. If our arbitrator said it's wrong, then we'll obviously have to make up. Jack, this is right. They are the highest paid workers in British Columbia. We can't afford that, nor should we pay those kind of wages.
Say that again. They are the highest paid workers of their category.
Of their category.
We're not just talking about starting grades.
No, hell no.
We're talking about...
well, sure. There's if you look at the more senior grades, there is in one case BC Hydro is one ahead of us. Another case, I think CPR is one ahead of us. But if you look at the whole package, there's no question
that by and large, your people are getting 8% on an average more than anybody involved in these companies I named.
Then the best 8, these are not just any companies, these are the best 8 paying companies in British Columbia.
Oh, let me give them. Hydro, BCGEU, ICBC, UBC, BC Tel, CPR, Finning Tractor, Mac and Blow. And you're saying that they're the highest paid workers by 8% in all of BC
Jack,
compared with these companies?
Jack, there are the figures. I stand by them. They were done properly. And I stand the test of somebody else looking at them and saying they're right or wrong.
Would you stand the test of, say, your Economics and Commerce Department looking at them?
An arbitrator who knows what he's doing.
Well, you're suggesting the Economics and Commerce Department at your own university doesn't know what it's doing?
Why do
Because
that?
one of their lecturers got up and he asked Bill Yule point blank about the point that I just made from this report. And sort of Yule basically hummed and hawed and couldn't answer.
Chris, why do that? There's something that Jack opened up with. It's called the Essential Services Act. And in there, as you know, there's an arbitration clause which reads, Jack, and you should perhaps read it out to your audience what it says.
You're talking about the Bill 46?
I never know the names of these bills, but but just read B, C, and D, the arbitration. The way arbitration is done under that, the way it's done is that the arbitrator has to look at comparable wages somewhere else, not just look at what the increases today are. Look at the actual comparable wages.
That's true. Well, that's generally speaking true in arbitration. You must compare with outside. But is it not?
That happens as a matter of course.
The history of arbitration in BC is that the arbitrator comes in, the union asks for 8%, the management says 6%, the arbitrator awards 7%. That's not the kind of arbitration
whereas Section 11 arbitration says that the arbitrator shall have regard to, one, the interests of the public. Oh, God forgive, they should think about the public. Terms and conditions of employment and similar occupation outside the employer's employment. That's the point you're getting at, isn't it? But let's get lost in university esoteric defensible or non-defensible arguments. Your union must be complimented on having, and you will concede, the highest wages in these categories compared to these companies.
In some of the categories, yes. But if you take the upper grades, you'll find that we're more or less directly in line with the market, and in some cases well below it.
So this is
a fellow arrived at university recently, a technician. He had to take $1,000 a year drop in pay to come and take the job. And even then management appointed him at the 24-month step in the grade. That doesn't suggest that we're 20% ahead of the market. Now, if you take the lower sector, which is almost predominantly women, you'll find that women in the economy have traditionally been wage slaves and working for minimum wage jobs in unorganized professions. AUCE is one of the first unions that has organized in British Columbia that has a majority of working women in its membership. And I think that sort of we should be reasonably proud. We are basically setting
I think your
pathfinding.
aims and aspirations are absolutely wonderful if we can afford them. I mean, you come to the ordinary member of the public, such as myself or listeners, and say, name of goodness gracious me, or words to that effect. $930 a month starting. Grade 12, 1583 SFU, what's that for? A grade 12
Grade 12 would be a technician.
Technician.
Senior technician.
A senior technician, I see. Now, you have been very chintzy on the face of it and giving them any offer at all. You don't want to give them a nickel, do you?
No, that's not true, Jack.
What do you want to give them?
We've offered them a 2-year contract where we've offered them 2% November 22nd and 4% on February 1 for a 2-year contract.
2%. This is to bring them back into line with these outside employers. And then
Try to, at least we believe that at the end of this contract, at least at the end of this offer, we'll still be above these 8. But 2% November, 4% February, and of course on top of that you realize that these people also get increments, so they're worth about 3%.
You mean step increments?
Step increments.
Well, that carries on, what, 5, 6 or 7 years, the step increment?
No, it's a 4-year scale every 6 months.
Scale.
And the reason that was introduced by the university is because they recognize that the longer people are on the job, the greater, the better the job they do by learning from the experience.
Again, though, I'm thinking about his costs. It'd be 2% plus 3%, so that's
Right.
5% including your increment.
Right.
And then 4% plus 3%, that'd be 7% including your increment.
Right.
How many are covered by increments of all the people involved?
We think about right now there are about 20% of the employees are at the top of their step, so 80% are covered by increments.
I would say that, I think that's
So
probably
this is
about
a
right.
money strike.
Yeah, but now I think we need to address some of the figures that you were using.
Okay.
You started off with some of the $930.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's
Now,
the figure given here.
one of the difficulties with the university...
Could you hold your breath a minute,
Sure.
Chris, and you can start in full flight.
Okay.
Does it really matter? Of course it really matters. If a union is on strike at Simon Fraser University and it's only a pain in the neck at the moment, that strike can escalate. And I'm going to turn now to Chris Eve, the Vice President of AUCE Local Number 2, and say that the civilities between you two this morning indicate that the labour relations climate at Simon Fraser is excellent. You're just arguing about money.
No, the labour relations climate at Simon Fraser is probably getting on for one of the worst in British Columbia. The reason being is that the grievance procedure sort of in the last few years has essentially resolved nothing, and the university has persisted in pursuing hopeless cases to expensive arbitrations in an attempt to grind the union down.
You're talking about individual complaints?
Yeah.
Promotion or demotion or firing or that kind of thing?
Now, there's a second notion. It's in terms of, it's almost as if we're being treated like recalcitrant children. Now, the union has not been outrageous in its demand. It has shown a flexibility and a desire to get a settlement. We proposed binding arbitration at one stage, and and that was rejected by George, despite the fact that he said in '76 it was the only way to go. Now, for a long while, they refused to talk any money at all until such time as all our non-money items were not settled but dropped by the union. Mm-hmm. And the feeling I get from the whole of this negotiations thing is that it's one gigantic stall, hoping that sooner or later the union will get so frustrated it'll settle for anything.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I sympathize with you, but he has a big clout behind him in terms of the fact that he certainly convinced me that you are very well paid indeed, and that due to your efficiency and the softness of previous administrations, you jumped ahead of the best paid employers in BC. So now they're in the position of chopping your head off.
Well, that's not entirely true. See, one of the things that George always lays out is that the entry level is at the grade 2 level. Well, actually, there's a grade 0 and there's a grade 1, and there's 30% of our members in there. And that starts at $4.44 an hour, has no increments. It's basically students coming out of school with no other qualifications other than grade 12. That prorates into full-time employment of $6.40 a month, which is directly comparable with what business downtown is paying sort of the grade 12 student who takes a full-time job at their place.
What about that very important point?
Yes, there are grades 0 and 1. They are primarily student temporary helpers that mostly work most of them, a large number, work at such jobs as shelvers in the library.
Thanks very much.
They don't really count in your university wage levels.
Well, they are people that were added on. We believe, I haven't got those figures here, Jack, I believe that those wages for those kind of temporary work is also a hell of a lot higher anywhere else. I mean, that's not...
Your basic pitch, though, is quite clear. And I mean, I've seldom seen a labour dispute so clearly set out as in your particular brief here, that you say $11,000 a year to start, higher than anywhere else, and the highest paid employers of BC is something with which you cannot put up. And you want to clip their wings back.
Okay, I want to come back to him on the student thing, because that's important to us. The student temporaries were ruled into our bargaining unit by the Labour Relations Board a good while after the union got off and rolling. And what happened before then was that they were earning $4.42 an hour. As soon as they were unionised, their wages were reduced. Management introduced this thing about grade 0s and 1, and they clipped their wages from $4.42 to $3. And it was only sort of with the last contract that they began to move ahead again. They have offered these well-paid student temporaries, and students aren't exactly what you'd call sort of the richest members of society, a handsome 11 cents an hour was their last offer for their first offer. 1% for students on the poverty line.
The tears don't run down my faces on that level, I must tell you. You know, they just don't. Binding arbitration. I thought you said you'd go for binding arbitration.
I did. I made a mistake.
You will go for binding arbitration.
I will go for binding arbitration as long as it's on the premise that the arbitrator is comparing wages to other wages in British Columbia. I will not go for binding arbitration where he's got complete freedom just to look at what the increases are. Obviously, Jack, if I went for that and it were the highest in British Columbia, and if he provides the average award, we'll never achieve our goal. Our goal is very simple. We want to pay these people good salaries, want to continue paying good salaries, but we will not pay the best salaries in British Columbia. It's not right by the public. We're here to teach and do research. We're not here, we want to use that money for that purpose, not to pay the highest wages in British Columbia.
It's a good hard line.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll get the public imagination too.
Well, maybe it will, but that still doesn't deny.
Why don't you bring it to a head right now by closing down the whole place as registration is going into full flow?
Because the union sort of has predicated its whole approach on the basis that we are responsible members of a community. You know, this isn't Fords of Dagenham. This isn't General Motors. This is a university, and what we do affects very intimately the activities of every...
In fact, you didn't close the place down.
Why not?
You're afraid of Section 11 after a couple of months?
No, if Section 11 that's out there, that's something that Bill Bennett can lay on us if he wants to. But in the event that he does do that, we shall call a membership meeting and we shall decide whether or not we're going to obey it. And that's a membership decision because we're a democratically run union.
Yeah, I've got an awful feeling that the union membership doesn't follow leadership these days. Maybe it's different in your union.
You made a mistake when you introduced us. You said you were introducing sort of one of the top people on both sides. Now that may well be true in terms of George and the administration, but the executive and the alleged leadership are slaves to the membership, and we do as the membership directs, and we are there to serve the members.
You are a most unusual union, and you're probably the only union that has achieved the what's the top? Is that the apex or the nadir? Or what is it? Come on, George.
True democracy.
True democracy.
Thank you.
Because I haven't found another union yet. Generally, it's there's a hell of a lot of nose leading around by.
The only problem with it doesn't work.
Okay, you'll find there's at least 4 other AUCE locals in a provincial outfit that run the same way.
Does the public care about SFU? Is this a non-event? Should I have forgotten the whole thing? Should we encourage Chris to close down Simon Fraser and bring it to the test as to whether they should continue to be the best paid clerical employees in just British Columbia, George, or the whole world?
Well, British Columbia is the highest paid in Canada, and Canada is highest paid in the United States, so the whole world is close.
Going to try some phones on this just for one segment to see if we get some kind of interest and see what the response is. If you want a job at $11,000 a year, grade 2, don't apply at Simon Fraser.
11,800.
There are no vacancies at the moment.
Oh, there are.
There are?
Oh, yes, damn right. You go and look up on the board and sort of see what the vacancies are.
I think it would be better than working on the BC... No, it's not as big money as the BC Ferries, though.
I don't know what the BC
They're the highest paid.
Well, if they're the highest paid, I wonder why the university didn't quote them. I thought they had an objective
They're not
sample.
clerical employees.
Good thought.
They also had a gun to a head some years ago, head of a fellow called Strachan. Okay, phones. Now, instantly. Oh, we're going to go straight to phones. Go ahead, please.
Hello. I'm a student at Simon Fraser University right now, and I'd like to direct my question towards the union rep, whose name I haven't caught yet.
Chris Eve, E-V-E, as in Adam and.
Okay. I'd like to know where his union gets the gall to ask for student support for his wage increases when it's our tuition increases that are going to pay for it. They've been asking us not to cross picket lines and to make it as hard as possible for those employees that weren't on the rotating strike.
Good point there. Now, he's asked his question. He wants you to answer it.
Okay.
Where do you have the gall to ask students to support the strike when their tuition fee increases are going to pay for it?
We're not going to win this strike without the support of the university community, and that's faculty, some sympathetic management, and students. And so we have conducted our strike strategy that way. Now, in terms of tuition fees, sort of the tuition fees are determined by the Board of Governors, and sort of the university gets its money as a lump sum from the University's Council of British Columbia. The student fees make up an extremely small portion.
George, will it be student fees that have to help meet this cost?
Jack, we're in a zero-sum game. We've got so much money. We've got a portion. 80% of our money goes to salaries. Obviously, if we're paying one segment of our group, we're paying higher wages than what we should be paying. That means somebody else suffers. Other wages are lower, student fees go up, or whatever happens. That's obvious. We only got so much money, we have to spread it around.
Go ahead, please. Where are you, ma'am?
Yes, I'm here.
Speak up.
Okay. I'd like to address my question to Chris.
Yes?
I would like to ask him, I'm a professional bookkeeper working for an automobile dealership. I'm non-union. I'd like to know how he justifies paying clerks, grade 12 dropout clerks, filing clerks, $930 a month, when I'm lucky if I get $900 a month as a professional person.
I don't know offhand what the clerk... The contract is here.
Clerk 2.
Clerk 2, which is step 4. Clerk 2, no, step 3.
What is
I don't know what the qualifications are, but sort of what I hear from...
Read the names.
Cashier,
steno.
Clerk 2, Clerk Steno 1, Clerk Typist 2, and a Typist 2.
$9.30 to start, and a 3% increase for each of 4 years. Not bad.
No?
That's today.
How much do you get, ma'am?
That's before the increase.
Before the increase. How much do you get, ma'am?
I only get $900 a month.
You're a professional.
Yes, I am. Very much so.
Quit and go to Simon Fraser. Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, you didn't let me answer the question. I wanted to do that.
I do, forgive me. I also run a true democracy. Answer the question.
Okay. You know, the point is that we have highly qualified staff at our university, and I can only suggest to the member that to the viewer that what you're seeing here is the advantages of organising a trade union run by and for women.
Now, you mentioned General Motors and Fords of Dagenham.
Yeah.
You're not General Motors. You're a non-productive educational establishment where the money is limited. And if people like Georgie Boy here don't get tough, we'll be back after his neck again.
Hold it, Jack. I mean, there's only one thing that I will agree with Chris. All that nonsense about that university are non-productive is a lot of nonsense. I think these people do work hard. I think our professors work hard, and we're producing a good product.
What I mean,
all this stuff.
What I meant to say, Mr. George Suart, is that they're certainly productive, but it's not a profit-making institution.
It's not a profit-making institution.
You'll accept that?
I'll accept that.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to congratulate the gentleman on their stand. I much prefer Mr. Eve to the other gentleman, his position. I'm a federal public employee, not a civil servant. I'm not afraid to say it. I look at their wages, and I only wish our union was a bit stronger than it is right now, and that we could aspire for the same for our members.
Yeah, but you must confess, caller, that this is the first time you've had a union agreement discussed in the following terms, in that it's 8% higher claimed than the best-paying people, and that they, a public employer, are about to try and clip the wings in terms of only a 2% basic increase of a union. First time it's ever been tried to bring people back into line, isn't it?
I don't think it's the first time in this province that sort of people have tried to attack
Webster.
the union.
It's not bringing people back into line. What it's trying to do is keep the public employee in the rough place that they've always been in.
Always been in?
Always been in. Let's face it now. The public employees have always been underpaid. Yes, indeed, Mr. Webster.
Traditionally underpaid until the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, perhaps in the last couple of years they've managed to catch up. Now they're getting tired of the public employee catching up. They don't want to see this because it's showing the private sector unions that we have to expand our horizons instead of just sitting back and allowing the...
Oh, I agree with you entirely, and no objection to the motives, but you are the only people, Chris as well as the others, who can look to the inexhaustible coffers of the tax supply to meet your demands, reasonable or not.
Well,
I don't agree with that. I don't
BC
think...
can look to the inexhaustible supply of money from the people's pocket when
That's right.
the BC Tel bills go up. They only got terrible 13%. What a rough time, eh?
They rip us off, but they also have good union contracts.
Let's address the supply of tax dollars.
I can't continue allowing my real wage to value an average of -3% every year, eh?
I agree. We'll get George and then
Jack,
Chris. Thank you, sir.
You know, that's a nice line, but you see, it's false. Look, I don't have any problems, personally, of public sector employees being paid fair wages, and he says catching up. That's not what we're arguing about here. What we're arguing about is that they're more than caught up, they're way ahead.
Yeah, well, of course, you're entitled to bully them into the ground, as you obviously did in years gone by.
Well, we didn't bully them into the ground.
They
We
gave
sat
it to
down. We sat down and we negotiated, and they were tough, and they were reasonably fair. There was a mediator at various stages, and we finally settled on a contract. But I want to address this argument about the tax dollars and the inexhaustible supply.
Inexhaustible.
See, we're taxpayers too. And one of the things that's interesting is that the provincial government spending went up 11.5% this year. Now, on the basis of that, sort of the Simon Fraser got a budget allocation increase of 6.5 to 7%. They've given sort of something of the order of 4% plus some merit increments to it to make an average of around 6.5%. And these guys simply want to pay us 2%. That doesn't seem to me to jive with the tax dollars
you
thing.
see, your vision is naturally limited. The public says, okay, 11.5% up, 6.5%, 6%, 2%. Was the place efficient? I'm not talking about Simon Fraser. Was the place run well? Why don't we operate on zero-based budgeting to make sure we, the public, are getting value for our dollars?
Well, in terms
we don't know.
No, but well, we do. We do know at Simon Fraser. In terms of the productivity of our members, in terms of people served, faculty went up 35%. Students 50% over the last 5 years.
I may find out that the faculty should only have gone up 20%.
Well, that's one of the points. See, one of the things that George has been saying for the last 5 weeks is this strike is having no effect at all. You saw on the intro that it had no effect at all.
Correct.
We've had 30 management types in the registrar's department for the last 5 weeks. Question, if it's having no effect on their jobs, what do they do?
When they're not scabbing.
Yeah, sort of, if it's having no effect on the university, are they really necessary?
First of all, Jack, they're not scabbing. Management employees don't scab. We're not bringing people off the hill.
Right.
Number two, of course it's having an effect in that sense. But the facts are, that's our number one priority. Our number one priority, keep that thing going. We'll keep it going for a hell of a long time.
Okay, one more short segment with Chris and George, Mr. Eve and Mr. Suart, and then we'll set them off to arrange their binding arbitration.
They're vanished.
We can't get into all the hassles. He's offered 2% and 4%. 2% and 4% plus the merit increments. You say garbage nonsense. You want what?
4% the first year, 6% the second.
So you really want 7 and 9?
No, 4% is 4%.
And the increments, the 3% increments, also come out of our pocket.
Well, so do his increments come out of my pocket.
I don't know how much he gets paid. It must be dreadful.
55,988 as per the last financial year, which was March 31st.
55,988 as per the last financial year.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
What's that got to do with, I'll tell you something, Jack.
I just wanted to know.
No, but it's important. I get paid what other people with my responsibilities across Canada get paid, and as Chris wrote me, he made a comparison. He actually said that I make more than the Premier. I don't know if I make more than the Premier. But the Premier also makes what other Premier makes. The problem is that he wants to make more than people doing his work.
If you'll accept the comparable money, you've got no problems. Now, binding arbitration.
Accept comparable money.
He says binding arbitration on the terms of the Section 11 type of comparable occupations. Why wouldn't you go for that?
There's no problem with that. He can submit our sort of comparability evidence. I've been preparing briefs for arbitration boards on and off for the last 3 years, and I haven't yet found one sort of from the employer's side that didn't include
but he wants the arbitrator. He wants the arbitrator tied to those terms.
Well, you appoint an
an
arbitrator.
award in connection with those terms of reference.
You appoint an arbitrator acceptable to both sides
mean to
to
say
settle a dispute. It's as simple as that.
But it's not simple.
He said 2 years ago that was a good route to go. Now he says he will only go that route sort of in the event that sort of it's on his terms.
So let's get some calls on. Go ahead, please.
Hi. First of all, I think that students who get $4.44 an hour are being underpaid. I think they should get a higher rate of pay than that. And I also feel that $9.30 a month isn't an overly exorbitant amount in today's high standards of living.
Well, when you graduate from SFU, you can get a job as a garbage collector and start at about $19,000 a year.
Pardon me?
If you want money, become a garbage collector.
Well, there isn't any jobs as garbage collectors. Let's face it, there's a lot of jobs.
He's a sympathizer. You can put him down as one of yours. Go ahead, please. Where are you, ma'am? Is that a ma'am? No, it isn't. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. I want to direct this to both people there. Maybe this is just a suggestion on what they could do, but it seems to me some of the pay grades are too highly paid and others aren't. Perhaps what they need is a reclassification of some of those who are too high and give them a lower rate, and then they could give everybody else the flat percentage rate. Like the students are obviously paying grade paid 0 and pay grade 1 are at a low rate. Those from pay grade 2 to 4 or whatever, somewhat from what I'm hearing anyway, are paid a little too high. Those at the higher scale, once again, are a little lower again.
She wants a whole reclassification. That wouldn't solve your problem, would it?
No, I don't think so, and I think that would be against our principles. Basically, the people you find in those bottom grades are women. Women are underpaid in our society. There's no two ways about that. And one of the functions of our union is to try and bring women's wages at our university closer to the provincial
What
average.
proportion are women?
Something of the order of 70%.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to direct this to George Suart.
Yep.
George, earlier on the program, we can keep going for a hell of a long time. First of all, I would like you to clarify on the point of we. And second of all, if you feel that you can keep going for a hell of a long time, would you say that the strike is ineffective?
I would say the strike is ineffective. When I said we can keep going for a hell of a long time, the we is that we have a lot of very dedicated, hardworking managers and professional people who are working long hours, trying very hard to make sure the services of the university are maintained. They are doing that, and I think we'll be able to do that for a long time. If you're asking me would I like to do that, I think it's very hard on them. The answer clearly is no.
George, I would like to ask you, how long is the morale of the management going to withhold these kind of pressures? Are they happy doing what they are doing? What is happening to their workload? What's going to happen if and when they get back to their jobs? How happy are they going to be?
I can tell you that I spend a lot of time looking after and thinking about and talking to people that are working as far as their morale is concerned. I believe their morale at the moment is very, very high. If you're asking me if it goes on very long as to whether their morale is going to be kept up, I don't know.
Fair enough. A final question. Is your position still firm? Arbitration only under the form of fixed terms of reference?
Jack, we have a meeting with the union this morning at 10:30. We are going to make him another offer.
You mean money offer?
Money offer.
A different money offer?
Different money
You're
offer.
coming up a little bit.
We're
We're
not coming up very much, but we're coming up, yes.
Did you know about this, the offer coming?
I knew that there might be an offer this morning from what I read in the Express this morning, but sort of our position is 4% and 6%, and our negotiators have authority to negotiate. So it's...
That's fair enough. Authority to negotiate, which is authority to negotiate.
That's right.
And you have no plans for encircling and closing down the university as of this moment?
No, we have an executive meeting tonight, and job action will be on the agenda.
My thanks to Chris Eve of AUCE Local 2, George Suart, Vice President of Administration Simon Fraser. Next we're going to talk to Eileen Dailly, Burnaby North.
No, but I hope. Mind you, it is an ethical morality thing. That's what I'm hitting this thing. It gets me. I'll just hold on my sheet here. That's only Curtis's. That's not mine. I haven't got my own here. Yes, thanks.
Sugar?
Just cream.
Just cream.
Come on.
It's an incredible amount of money, isn't it? Isn't it?
They got a lot of money to play around with, eh?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing, Jack, is the only minister that really played around with it.
Next to fishing industry, the tourist industry, the lumber industry, the underworld drug industry, the prostitution industry, profits from lotteries seem to be one of the financial mainstays of British Columbia. And it always bothers me of how much money has been made out of lotteries in BC. And Hugh Curtis, after Grace Baby stonewalled details for a number of months about what was happening to the money, Hugh Curtis finally released the details of all grants from lottery earnings made in British Columbia since January the 1st, 1975. The figures are astronomical, and as well as that, some 275 non-profit society made an additional $12.5 million in their commissions. Eileen Dailly has been a critic, to a point, of what has been done with some of this lottery money. And Eileen, really, what is your particular offense that you take to anything done with lottery monies?
Well, first of all, I don't, want to get in a debate on whether we should have lotteries or not at this time, I hope, because we have them in the province of BC, and if people wish to buy them, they can. If they don't have to, Jack. But my concern, as a member of the opposition, and may I say as a citizen who has bought lottery tickets, is the misuse, the blatant misuse of the lottery fund profits. And this point I brought up, as you know, a number of months ago, when I discovered that certain social credit backbenchers particularly were making great public displays of handing out lotteries money, and for what I considered in some cases some rather unquestionable,
rather
questionable, not unquestionable, questionable
projects.
Thank you. That's right.
Refresh my memory on them.
Okay. Well, first of all, the footbridge in Coquitlam. Now, there's no question that probably was needed, okay? But why not out of highway funds? I mean, whoever thought we were going to see lottery profits monies used to give a social credit backbencher a footbridge? Now, granted, the people
get him off
wanted
the heat with the local people who wanted the bridge. The highways department wouldn't move, so he goes to the government and says, give me money out of the lotteries and I'll build a bridge.
That's right. And then after I discovered that one, I did some more checking, and I find out that even the present minister in charge of lotteries now, Mr. Curtis, who I give credit for disclosing this anyway, but however, he, as a cabinet minister, handed out, I believe, around $4,000 to $5,000 for a breakwater study for a marina in his riding of Sidney, and this was handed out publicly. The member from Almanica, Mr. Kemp,
oh yes,
handed out or was able to give a check for a rod and gun clubhouse. The interesting thing is that
I noticed too, and I shouldn't say this, I'll be in trouble at the weekend, that the Salt Spring Island Farmers Institute got $30,000. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't see it. I haven't had a chance to go through it all.
I'm about to make a public disclosure now. Salt Spring Island Farmers Institute, $30,000.
Yeah.
I just was asked to join it, and did in fact, didn't I, Linda? Salt Spring Island Farmers Institute, and I find now that I'm the beneficiary of $30,000 disbursement from the lottery fund at some time. And what the devil would they need $30,000 for?
Well, you see, that brings me to the point, Jack, and I don't want to bore your listeners with going through the whole detail of ministers and backbenchers who've handed it out. But the point is that under Mrs. McCarthy, who was in charge of lotteries until she's now been removed from that position and she's in another area, the majority of ridings which were receiving lottery funds were in social credit ridings.
Have any NDP members of the House been given lottery checks to give out for projects which they have sponsored?
Never.
And nor the Liberal, nor the Conservative.
This is the point.
Is your case that they have used, while not improperly perhaps, unethically,
right,
the proceeds from lotteries to buttress their own political position in weak spots?
Exactly. And that's my contention, and I think the facts prove it. In those areas where Mrs. McCarthy could dispense with it in a very personalized manner, the miscellaneous funds and special events, 1.7 million, Jack, went to social credit ridings and 121,000 to NDP.
1.7 million to social credit ridings and 121,000
to NDP.
That's rubbing it in, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
that's like the way the Liberals handled the LIP projects.
Right.
Cabinet ministers get 10 millions and the opposition get $150,000.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps that's the kind of morality and standard of patronage to to which we have become accustomed, acclimatized, and disinterested about in Canada.
I hope not, Jack. And I must say that in the response that I've had since I first, expressed concern over this, I find it very positive. I'm not just saying politically, which certainly I admit, okay, is fine. But people are somewhat, well, I won't say some of the culture grants might be suspect, but basically I wouldn't complain about those. It's the special events and miscellaneous, which came to $1.7 million.
Yeah, I've got them here,
okay.
Thousands of them.
And 121.
Mind you, we're not complaining about the Vancouver Police Pipe Band getting $1,000, are we?
Never.
Webster and Eileen Dailly. We're going to talk politics, we're going to talk lotteries, we're going to take your phone calls too. Eileen Dailly, you're not taking a moral position on lotteries, you're just the average Canadian who buys the odd tickets, doesn't really like the ill-gotten gains.
No, I'm taking a moral position when it comes to political morality.
Yeah, on this.
On this issue. As far as lotteries, I'm one who happens to buy them.
Have you applied for a grant for any purposes for your own Burnaby North constituency of the NDP?
No, I haven't.
Why not?
Well, again, Jack, we'll get back to the original point
I mean,
we're
I'm
making.
just...
why not? Look, if a
to run a test on them.
Okay. Oh, to run a test. Well, somebody suggested that to us.
Yeah.
Why not run a test through? The only thing is, Jack, if we're saying that it's wrong to run this thing and channel it through an M.L.A., and then you go about and do it just to make a case, well, you kind of lost your whole basis of your principle in arguing this, haven't you? So that's why we didn't.
Okay, we'll leave that for the moment.
Yeah.
Unless there are any phone calls on it, Linda, are there? Try a phone call, Eileen. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Who am I speaking to?
You're speaking to Webster and Dailly, or Dailly and Webster.
Okay. Now, you're talking about these lotteries.
Right.
Yes. My husband has been buying them. And I say that's stupid because I would rather buy a lottery from the Reader's Digest, which I get a book from. And I'm sure I'm getting something from it. Does that make sense?
Well, I suppose it does, and the Reader's Digest lottery costs you nothing, as I understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
You never met anybody who won anything from the Reader's Digest, ma'am. Thank you for your call. Go ahead, please.
I'd like to ask Mrs. Dailly just why the Department of Highways had to be involved in that bridge problem, and why not the Department of Education?
He's talking about the bridge in Coquitlam across the creek where the little boy was drowned.
Well, I believe the answer to that would be simply that the education budget from the Ministry of Education, are you talking about the local board or the provincial? I'm not sure, but anyhow, they are not able to build bridges out of the Education Ministry's budget. That comes out of highway budget.
But it's all taxpayers' dollars.
I agree with you. It's all taxpayers' dollars. But the school boards and the Minister of of Education have no jurisdictional right to spend money on highways.
I don't even get the point of the call.
I don't quite understand.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Webster, Mrs. Dailly.
Yes, sir.
Yes, what I have to say may somewhat diverge from the topic of lotteries, but...
do carry on.
It all does come together somehow, I think. I see that Canada's ambassador to Japan made a very interesting statement yesterday. Now, according to the news article, as I understand it, now correct me if I've misquoted, but did Mr. Bruce Rankin, the ambassador, not say
CBC this morning.
That Canadians are a negative, parochial bunch of individuals who put their own interests ahead of Canada's?
I heard that quote on one of the radio stations this morning.
I didn't.
Yeah. I heard it, yeah, probably the same as you. I happened to hear it this morning.
Well, I think in line with all the sort of thing we have going on here with politicians lining their own...
Fair enough, and you're saying that we're all a bunch of slobs. You agree with Bruce Rankin that Canadians are slobs?
I think that the statement was definitely appropriate to all too many Canadians today.
Here, I agree with you. Go ahead, please, from Ubo.
Hello, Jack.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Mrs. Dailly able to say what the NDP will do with the lottery funds when they get elected next time?
Well, I'll be quite frank with you. that as a caucus and a party, we haven't actually sat down and discussed any basic policy on this.
What would you do?
But if you're asking me what I would do and what I'd like to recommend is that, first of all, you take out the disbursement of grants out of the hands of one minister and you set up some form of nonpartisan committee that will be in charge of handing out especially the miscellaneous grants.
Do you happen to know if this is done from the minister's office?
Yeah.
It is.
The miscellaneous and special events are done from the minister's office, right?
Not good enough.
No.
So if
No, all I'm saying is it's got to be taken out of the political arena and put in the hands perhaps of a provincial-wide committee.
And you're confident the NDP will be elected, are you, ma'am?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Up in Uball.
Yes. Well, they always are here.
Which riding are they in anyway?
But is there any chance that it would be put on the hospital and medical concerns?
Well, that depends.
It could be.
Could be. Go ahead from Salmo. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
I want to talk to Webster.
Well, you're talking to him. Speak up.
This guy from Selmo.
Yeah, go on.
I want to see your controversy, my friend, over the part of BC they're going to give away to the Yankees, the way up around Rupert.
Which part of BC is that? Come on.
They want the part of the land, the water in between the Charlotte Islands and Rupert, the way up around in there.
They want the what?
Yeah.
Now,
On the news the other day.
Linda, do me a favor and talk to this gentleman off the air and see if it makes any sense that way. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, while we are on the subject of lotteries, I'd like to say that the basis on which the lotteries are operated here in BC is hundreds of thousands to one in favor of the lottery. The people who are buying these tickets don't realize that when they throw up these numbers, and they give you 5 numbers to win $100,000 from, there are hundreds of thousands of numbers against them.
Well, that's a lottery.
Pardon?
That's what a lottery is.
No, a lottery is where you sell the total number of tickets for a total sum of money, and after the government tax and the organizers' fund tax is taken out, the balance of the money is then divided into prizes, which are then divided among the various winners in the forms of first, second, third, fourth, and other prizes.
That's what they appear.
Lottery. This way here, your chance of winning one of those things is hundreds and hundreds of thousands to one.
I accept your argument. It's easier than fighting. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
You won't switch, though, Jack.
Where are you?
Richmond.
You what? Hold on. This is not our morning, Eileen, is it?
Not on this one.
Go ahead, please.
Yes,
Hello?
Mr. Webster.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. One thing I would like to know is, considering that this is kind of a gambling type situation on the lotteries and everything, and considering the way some of the funds have been spent, you know, footbridges, things like this, I really wonder where's the morality, considering that there's probably old people downtown eating horse meat. They can't afford to buy proper food on the pensions they are. They don't have any kind of proper accommodations, considering some of those holes they're living in down there. I was wondering, why can't some of this money be spent on these people instead of, say, dubious things like $250 to frog jumping contests and things like this?
Well, I'll give you a worse one than that. I've got 2 here that I'm looking at right now, and I'm going to pick on them just specifically. The Burns Lake Rod and Gun Club, $45,000. How can you justify $45,000, Eileen, to a rod and gun club? And another one here, Vancouver Art Gallery. Supposed to be supported by the patrons of the art. Restoration of M.L.A. paintings, which there are thousands. $25,000. When it comes to a question of choice and need for people, when I've seen some of the conditions in some of these so-called rest homes and some of the want that there is in this town, despite the social legislation we've got, you wonder if we're all going out of heads, wouldn't you?
Jack, can I make a point to the caller there, though? The only problem is, if you use the lottery funds, for example, the sort of things he's saying, it has to be something on a sustaining basis, that can continue.
Right.
And the lottery fund, you know, will vary. So I think the point is that if you're going to dispense lottery funds, dispense them in a non-political way, but don't give it to something which has to continue on a basis every year. Eh?
Listen to this one.
The lotteries are going to continue.
Yeah, they are, but I mean the profits can vary. So all I'm saying is you're quite right. There are areas where older people need assistance, but I'm just suggesting that the monies that go to hospitalization and so on should come out of a fund that we know is going to continue.
Yeah, now look, one other thing I want to draw to your attention. The Justice Institute of British Columbia for volunteer fire department training. What the hell's the Justice Institute of BC?
Oh, that's that new institute they have where they do justice training, isn't it? In the
500,000 out of lottery funds for volunteer fire department training?
Yeah.
Funny way to spend money.
Well, this is what I mean, Jack. Those are examples of what the former caller was, I think, getting at, too. That is the sort of thing that a government should be taking out of their general revenues, not out of a lottery fund.
Webster and Eileen Dailly, and I'm going to pull a little gimmick on you after this break. I did a very bold thing this morning, Eileen. I guessed at what Stephen's poll is going to be.
Oh, right.
I said 41, 42% NDP.
Yeah.
About 37, 38 social credit. 14 to 16 Tory and 4 or 5 Libs.
Okay.
And just to waken us both up this morning, especially me,
right.
I want phone calls right now. We've got 9 minutes exactly. I want to see how many phone calls I can get in so there can be no packing the lines, to tell me in one word which party you would vote for whether a provincial election called now. I don't believe there is going to be. I just want to see how the Tories show. Just a little gimmick. So call in now and just give me simply, loudly and clearly the name of the party. Okay, name of the party.
NDP.
NDP 1. Good. How about you?
NDP.
2. You? Hello there.
Hello, am I on the line?
Yes, which party would you vote for whether a provincial election tomorrow?
Oh, the NDP, but that's not what
Thank you, ma'am. How about you?
NDP.
Uh-oh. This only proves that nothing but NDP has listened to Webster. How about you? Come on, answer the question. Which way would you vote tomorrow?
NDP.
That's 5 to nothing. Which way would you vote tomorrow provincially?
Tory.
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 1. Which way would you vote tomorrow provincially? Come on. My callers are normally brighter than this. Which way would you vote tomorrow? How about you?
NDP.
NDP. How about you? How about you?
Hello?
Yes.
NDP.
Okay. How about you?
Yeah, NDP, definitely.
How about you?
Socrat.
Socrat. Thank God. For one. Go ahead, please. Hello. Somebody's being difficult this morning. What did you say, ma'am?
NDP.
How about you?
Social credit.
Social credit. Thank you, ma'am. How about you? Hello.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Calling from Prince George, definitely NDP.
Thank you.
Yep.
How about you? Calling from where?
Oh, East End.
Yes.
NDP.
Thank you. Do you have an answer to my little question?
NDP.
NDP. Do you have an answer to my little question? Hello there.
NDP.
Thank you. Do you have an answer to my little question? Where are you? Do you have an answer to my question?
Yes, NDP.
This has become a farce. This has become a farce. Let's keep going, though. How would you vote whether a provincial election tomorrow? You.
Social credit.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for whispering up. How would you vote tomorrow?
NDP.
Thank you. How would you vote tomorrow?
Hello, it's me.
Yes, madam.
I will vote NDP.
Thank you. Are you there? Do you have an answer to my question? Are you there?
Yes.
Well, how would you vote?
NDP.
How would you vote?
Yeah?
Yes, you.
Social credit.
Okay, social credit. How about you, sir?
NDP.
NDP. And you? And you? Hello. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Social credit.
Social credit, thank you. And how about you? I'm trying to do one of my famous rapid, fast-moving polls, and I'm moving along like a legless creature. Hello there.
Never, Jack.
How about you?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, NDP, definitely.
Goodness gracious me, I don't believe this. How about you? Do give me an answer to my question. You know what I'm going to do? Are you there? Why didn't you speak up when I spoke to you on the speakerphone? NDP, thank you. God, it took him long enough, didn't it?
He's scaring off the Suart.
No, maybe I'm throwing away with my shouting. Maybe I am. I'm asking a simple question. How would you vote whether a provincial election tomorrow? Please name your party of choice.
Me?
You.
Conservative.
Conservative.
Conservative. And you?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
I would vote social credit, definitely.
Thank you, ma'am. And you?
Liberal.
Oh, a liberal. There's one still alive. And you?
NDP.
NDP. And you? Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how would you vote, sir? Social credit, thank you very much. I think maybe somebody's not hearing me on the speakerphone or something, but I've got it okay now. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Social credit.
Thank you very much. And you? How would you do?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I would definitely vote NDP.
NDP.
NDP all
you?
the way.
How about you?
NDP all the way.
NDP all the way. And you?
NDP.
NDP all the way. And you?
NDP, Jack.
Good.
There?
And how about you?
Social credit.
Social credit, thank you very much. And you? Come on.
NDP.
NDP. Well, I think it's time to stop and take account while I collect my wits about me. It's seldom that I've been so flustered. 1 Liberal, 2 Tories, 9 Social Credit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 25, 27 NDP.
Right, 27, yeah.
Are we agreed?
We're agreed.
It's audited.
It's audited, right.
Where are you speaking from? Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, where are you speaking from?
Victoria.
How would you vote in the provincial election tomorrow?
NDP.
28.
NDPs.
29. And you?
Social credit.
Social credit 10. And you? Hello.
Hello?
How would you vote, sir?
You Democrat.
You Democrat. A loud you Democrat. He's 30, isn't he?
Right.
That's 30, 2, 10, and 1. Yeah, how would you vote?
I'd vote for NDP.
Thank you. And you? Come on. And you?
NDP.
Incredible. And you?
NDP.
NDP.
Only one on that line, though. That's husband and wife using
Oh,
a typical
you knew that, eh?
NDP trick. They're using
Oh,
the
come
phone
on
in the
now.
bedroom and the phone in the kitchen, and they want to get 2 votes in. Only 1 vote.
May not be husband and wife.
Don't tell me that common law
Oh,
people
Jack,
would phone
no.
Webster. Go ahead, please. Hello.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
And vote social credit. Your poll proves that the people sitting around doing nothing all vote NDP.
Or no work, eh?
How about you? Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Social credit.
All agog. Good. And you?
Social credit, please.
Thank you very much.
You'll be next.
And you? Come on. Where are you? Do it this way. Where are you speaking from? Where are you? Now, with the count now is 30 NDP, 2 Conservative, 13 Social Credit, and 1 Lib. Correct, Eileen?
Right.
Audited.
Right.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
The New Democrat.
You're a Democrat, right? And you?
Socrat, sir.
Socrat. Good. People beginning to feel sorry for them.
Mm-hmm.
And you?
NDP.
NDP. And you? Come on.
NDP.
NDP. And you? Come on.
NDP.
What's wrong with them this morning? Is it the snow, do you think? Or is it me? Just because I've got a touch of pleurisy pneumonia and the flu. We'll leave it for the moment. There, we've done it, just as a little bit of a gag this morning. I can't take that one too seriously, Eileen. 30, how many NDP, quick?
You You got 31, eh?
31 NDP, 2 Tory,
right.
14 Social Credit, and 1 Live Liberal.
That's right.
Well, it was
Why
fun
don't you
anyway.
take it seriously? I do.
You must take it seriously. Who knows what
Who
I've done to
knows?
my own self-image. My thanks to Eileen Dailly. We'll keep an eye on Curtis. I'll have him on soon about what he's going to do with these lottery funds from here on in.
Good.
The poll wasn't up to usual Webster standard, Eileen. See, you should really build up a political little bit of excitement before you do a poll and have a serious issue.
I thought it was very exciting, Jack.
You did?
Yes,
no
I
wonder.
did.
Linda, what's
Yeah.
tomorrow?
Pat Brady from the BC Teachers Federation will be here to talk about the municipal cuts affecting teachers.
Among other things.
Yes.
That should be good fun tomorrow morning. Let's get a light program one of these days. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. precisely.